Welcome to the RADS paint formula tutorial. And today we're going to cover R of the RADS system, which is ratio, your paint mixing ratio. Super important. And first of all, before we get started, I want you to see if you can hear the difference on these two cans, right? Audio wise. Does this seem thicker, right? This seems thinner. So automatically, if you train your ears, you can basically pick up a can of paint, shake it, and know, oh, this is unmixed base coat. Pretty much non-reduced. And sometimes you're gonna have a can laying around the shop or whatever. Oh, this is kind of mixed. It seems it's reduced, but it needs to be reduced more. I could already tell by the sound that this needs to be reduced a little bit more. Okay, so that's kind of like a little trick. You could kind of shake the can and see and hear, right? So anyway, in this video, we're just gonna go over some quick viscosity. I'm gonna show you. This is a cool tool John Kosmowski kind of taught me, is to get a stainless steel like cake knife, you know, where you lay on icing, to see when you're mixing paint. It helps you see your viscosity, and it helps you see the color, especially when doing candies and pearls and stuff like that. You can literally see the candy, how thick it is, and yada yada. So talking about candy, let's actually start with some candy. I have some urethane candy over here, okay? Unmixed, pretty thick. And we're just gonna play around with the viscosity. We're not gonna mix any hardener in it. We're just gonna add a little bit of reducer to show you, this is an old can by the way, to show you the viscosity of this. And I should put my gloves on, but let's take a look at this now, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and, oh man, let me put some gloves on. If we take a look at this, right, you could already see it's pretty thick, right? Mix it up. See how slowly that's dripping? Can you see the drips? Helps to have it against the back of the white wall or something. Very thick. And you can see how on the spatula it looks really dark, right? And you can see how when it drips, it has that gumminess to it, that stringiness to it. That means it's way, way too thick. So we're gonna add a little bit of reducer to it, just to get it to the correct consistency, okay? And normally there is a mixing ratio for this, but I'm not gonna get into the actual mixing ratio. I just wanna show you the viscosity of a properly sprayable candy or base coat. So I'm just gonna kind of eyeball this a little bit, you know, mix it up. Still a little too thick, so I'm gonna add a little bit more reducer. I might do it. Just mix it up. So you can see how it looks different on the stick now, right? A little bit redder. Okay, now, if you take a look at it, you see how it's dripping pretty quick now? Right, that's too thin. I overdid it. So this is a paint viscosity you just saw too thick. This is too thin. I'm gonna go ahead and put this fan on. I don't know how the audio is gonna be, but I'll speak a little louder. But we're gonna have to thicken it up a little bit more to get it to that perfect consistency. I'm gonna add a little bit more candy to this. Mix it up. Okay, so that's pretty much a correct viscosity when it comes to painting candy coats. This is where I want to be at with a candy coat viscosity. And in VIP, we show you step by step with mixing ratios, but I didn't add any hardener to this, but I still wanted to get that correct viscosity. All I did was add a reducer. But this is pretty much, you know, where you want to be. When it drips like 1, 2, 3. When it stops dripping, See, this is a really good consistency right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you some thick base coat, how it looks, how it's dripping off a stick, and a reduced version of that. And once you master painting and mixing ratios and knowing the viscosity, you know, a lot of times if you just add your hardeners in correctly, so say if it's a 4-1-1, you add 4 parts clear coat, 1 part hardener, 1 part reducer. Sometimes you're gonna need a little extra reducer. Sometimes not, you know, sometimes you have too much reducer. So the reducer, when you put in the reducer when mixing all of your paints, you wanna make sure you do that last, and you always wanna make sure you check the viscosity before painting, because sometimes it's gonna be too thin, then you're gonna have to add a little bit more clear coat and a little hardener to it. Sometimes it's too thick, then you add a little bit more reducer to it, right? So let's go.